Hi, I'm Logan Decker, Senior Editor of PCgamer magazine, and I'm going to teach you how to build your own PC. That's right, build your own PC right there at home. Now, why would you want to do this instead of buying, a PC right off the shelf that you can take home and play? Well, great question. Well, for one thing, you get to control what parts go in your PC. That means that there's nothing in there you don't want. You don't pay for anything you don't want. Do you save a huge amount of money? Not so much. That shouldn't be the main reason you build your own PC. Instead, you want to make sure that every single component, from the video card to the motherboard to the CPU and the hard drives, is exactly what you want. Another good reason to do it is that it's easy. You know what? By the time we're done, you're going to realize that it can almost happen by accident. And that makes upgrading in the future that much simpler. You won't be intimidated. You'll be able to hop right on in. So let's get started. So before we begin, pretty much all you need is a screwdriver and a nice static-free work area to work around in. The more space you have, of course, the better. Try to wear all cotton clothes, something that's non-conductive, that's not going to cause an electrical storm as you're working in the PC, because one bad shock to the motherboard or to any component and it's toast. First step, removing the case cover. On the Cooler Master Cosmos, it couldn't be easier, and that's why we're using it. All you have to do is flip up the levers in the back of the PC like this, and the case door pops off. Note the sound insulating material on the inside to keep your PC nice and quiet once you're done reassembling all the components. Now, why are we using the Cosmos case from Cooler Master? Well, for one thing, it's got lots of room, and that's exactly what you want when you're building your own PC. Lots of room to work in. Another reason is because it's almost a completely toolless case, meaning that placing a drive is as easy as pulling one of these little bays out like this. Placing an optical drive happens at the push of a button. So that's the kind of thing you want to look for when you're buying a case to build your own PC in. The first thing you want to do with your open case is install the motherboard standoffs. Now, this Cooler Master Cosmos case comes with an inlay that shows you exactly which standoffs need to be screwed in for what kinds of motherboards. In this case, we're using an ATX motherboard from EVGA, so we want to fill standoff holes A, B, C, E, F, G, I, L, M, N. And you can see I've already done that with all these standoffs. You don't need pliers or any funny business to install the standoffs. Just make sure they're secure with your fingers. These are all secure. So now I'm going to remove the lining. Now, when I installed the standoffs for the motherboard, I kept all the screws in this nice little compact Altoids case. That's what I usually do when I build a system. I put all the screws I'm going to need in one little case, so they're all there waiting for me, and I don't have to do a lot of moving around in the room, especially if you've got a wool carpet or something like that, something that's going to generate a lot of static electricity when you're moving around. You do not want that. This is an I/O shield. This is what comes with your motherboard, and you want to install it in your case. You may have to pop out the one that's already in the case. All you got to do is take it and pop it right in there. So it sort of snaps into place. This is the motherboard. Cool, huh? We're going to line up these holes with the standoffs in the case. Careful for the I/O shield. And you just slide it in there like so until they line up with all the standoffs. Now we're going to screw the motherboard onto the standoffs. You may have to push with your fingertips so that the standoff lines up perfectly with the hole. Then you just take one of the motherboard screws that came from your Altoids tin, drop the screw right in there, take your screwdriver, and screw it firmly in place. Don't overdo it. Just a little resistance. Once the screw, you feel just a little resistance there, stop right there. You don't do it too hard, or you will snap the motherboard, and you don't want that. And then repeat the same process with the remaining standoffs on the motherboard. Now we're going to install the power supply. We have a Neo Power 650 blue power supply from Antec, and it's got modular plugs in the back, which I love. Now you'll notice that there's no CPU yet in the motherboard. I like to place it after I put in the power supply. Some people like to put it in before they put the motherboard in the case. It's up to you. And it's time to install the power supply. You just slip it here into the bottom of the case, and you line up the screw holes with these little indentations here. Put in a screw by hand, give it a little start there, and then go the rest of the way with your screwdriver. No need to go overboard with tightening it. So today we're pairing up Intel's Core 2 Quad Q6600 CPU with EVGA's motherboard based on the 6080i chipset from NVIDIA. So in order to correctly align the CPU with the motherboard, you need to pay attention to a tiny little triangle in the corner of the CPU. We'll come back to that in just a second. Now first you want to release the CPU cover from the motherboard, just like so. And you'll notice, if you look at these pins very carefully, these contacts on the motherboard, one's missing. That's the one you'll want to line up with the triangle in the corner of your CPU. And you want to drop that puppy right on in there until it sinks comfortably into the socket. Close the bracket over the CPU and replace the pin. Next, we're going to be applying thermal paste to our CPU. Thermal paste is what transfers the heat off the CPU and into our fan, where it's then radiated out to your case. Now your CPU should have come with a little tube of it. If not, you can order it online at a place called Arctic Silver, is one joint where I like to get my thermal paste. But usually the stuff that comes with your CPU should be adequate. Now CPUs do come with their own thermal paste. Try not to use it all, as you may want thermal paste again if you swap out the cooler later. You don't actually need that much, just enough to apply a thin, even layer over the top of the entire die. That should be plenty. Now there are a lot of ways to apply your CPU thermal paste. You could use a latex glove in your finger, or you could use the business card method, which is just to take a business card and slowly smooth it out over the entire die. Try not to leave any naked spots or thin spots. It should just look even all the way over. Don't worry if a little spills out over the sides, but don't use so much that when you put your CPU cooler on top, your fan, stuff squooshes out. That's way too much. Here's our stock Intel cooler. We're just going to slip it in to these 4 holes in the motherboard right there. We're going to push these tips through them, just like so. It's very easy to install. If you're going to install a third-party cooler, like one of those big honkin' ones from Zalman, you're going to probably need to install a backplane underneath the motherboard first. Luckily, you don't have to do it with these Intel ones. All you got to do is put the little pylons into the hole there and push it down until it clicks. You'll feel it instantly. Bingo, and it's in. Don't push too hard, don't shove, no need to get rough. Just sort of ease it in there, and then you'll see a little marking where it says CPU fan, and that's where you plug that little baby in. You don't have to do that right now, but I like to. It just looks better that way.